Alright, what's up, trolls and girls? We got part 2 of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, DSP edition. Judging by all the comments, it seemed like a hit and that people wanted to see more of it. So we got 4 more absolutely ridiculous scenarios we're going to cover today. One other thing I wanted to say was the amount of comments that I saw of people saying they grew up watching this show or that they remember watching it with their family, that stuck with me. Because like I said in the last video, I remember watching it with my uncle and I think they aired it like on Friday nights. And it's just something that really means a lot to me when I look back on it. But without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and jump into scenario number 1. Now, who doesn't love a good sock account? And as many of you know, one of our very good friends of the channel, Timbo Slice, loves him some sock accounts, baby. Now, I've caught him using hundreds of different names in the past. Well, it's really more like 5 or 6, but it feels like 100. And for some reason, that fucking guy just can't stay away. He famously blocked Phil on Twitter, called him a shady person, and said he was never coming back. And he managed to stay away for about 10 days. Now the question we're asking here, did Timbo Slice ever use the name Duckman? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it, to rack your brain. Did Timbo Slice ever use the name Duckman?
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up.
And the answer is a no. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Duckman sounds very familiar. And you would be correct. That's because I caught a different DSP moderator going by that name. And just for the record, I've picked off multiple of his mods under sock accounts. And here's another one on the screen right now. But Timbo went by names such as Chicken Man, Phil Smokes Crack, Phil Cooks Meth, Kevin Durant, and Tom Brady. And he probably still tips right now as anonymous. And ask Phil not to read the messages out loud, because like Deron Bland, I'll pick that motherfucker off and take it back to the end zone for a touchdown. How about them Cowboys? And if you say anything negative about the Cowboys, I'll ban your sorry ass in the chat right now. Grit fucked. Now let's move on to scenario number 2. So when we think back to 2017, there was a lot happening when it came to DSP. And eventually, I'm going to use more scenarios from that year in future episodes. But right now, I want to focus on his back tax saga. Now, he pulled out all the stops that year, from I might lose my house to Ket's new life with me might be ruined, among a bunch of other shit. Now, while DSP was going through all these pretend scenarios that were never going to happen, by the way, did little Phil Burnell ever insinuate that prison might be a fucking possibility if he didn't pay his taxes? Now think about it. What does DSP fear the most in this life besides Tevin and Walmart? Which those two things might have something in common, but that's neither here nor there. Would DSP even consider putting himself in imaginary prison if he didn't pay his taxes, fact or fiction?
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
You're right. It's fact. Yes. Yes. A similar event did take place.
So I've got this huge amount of money that I know I'm going to owe the federal government. All right? I know it. And I'm very nervous because here's the deal. The way it works is twofold, okay? When it comes to federal taxes and the fact that you can't pay them, one of two things will happen. The federal government will either say, we're going to put you on a payment plan that you will agree to. And it could be up to, from what I understand, it could be years, or it could be short term. It could be whatever they decide. You're in their hands, what they want to do. Now, the way the payment plan works is if you don't pay it, now you're really screwed. Because if you don't pay their payment plan, now they can actually try to garnish things like wages and stuff. Just basically, money that I have coming in, they'll try to take it before I can even use it. I don't know how much they could possibly do. But in general, it's not good. If you repeatedly don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. Felony tax evasion. Okay?
Now this shocks me. If you repeatedly don't pay your taxes, you could go to jail. Felony tax evasion. Well, were you evading your fucking taxes for years? Or did your tax guy screw you over like you originally said? Which one was it? And do you see what I mean when I said he was pulling out all the stops? How many scenarios did he bring up in that 1-minute clip? He talked about a payment plan that would last for years. He said they could garnish his wages, just take it away. And then he mentioned jail time. All that in 60 seconds. And by the way, that stream went on for multiple hours. So you can just imagine how the rest of it went. And like I said, we'll be using plenty of 2017 in future episodes. Now, let's move on to scenario number 3. This is a fucking classic and one of my favorite stories when it comes to DSP. Now, he once talked about going into a recruiter's office and potentially joining the military. And for those of you that don't know, his dad did serve in the military. So it's not like this is just some random thing that happened out of nowhere. He must have went in there for a reason. But in typical DSP fashion, he blows it out of proportion. And he says a bunch of shit was offered to him that probably every recruiter ever has told people to try to get them to sign up. And that leads into our question here. Did this recruiter tell Phil Burnell that he would be a good candidate to possibly be a sergeant in the military? Now, think about it. That's a lot of responsibility. But as we all know, DSP is a very good leader of men. Did a recruiter tell DSP he would be a good candidate to be a sergeant in the military? Fact or fiction?
It's false. It never happened. It's a fake. It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened.
When I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know if I wanted to go to college, if I wanted to go to the military. Now, my dad was a Marine, and I had considered going to join the Marines and or just the military in general. So I went to the local recruitment board or whatever, and they did an interview with me. Based off of the responses to my interview, they thought that I was a top candidate to be an officer. Okay, now they didn't promise anything. Obviously, you got to go through basic training, but they were like, listen, you're very smart. You're high ranked in your school. You're on track to go to a nice college. But if you go to the military, you'll be an officer. You won't see the front lines if you ever do get deployed, yada, yada, yada. And basically, they pumped up the military for me and said that this is going to be a great thing for you. So I remember after doing this interview, I was like, okay, this could be viable. And here's what happened. I swear to God, this is what happened. This is 100% true. I was about to leave, and as I was about to leave from the interview, the guy who interviewed me said, so what do you think, honestly? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of what you said to me sounds attractive, but I do want to weigh and balance my other options too. And, there's a possibility that I'll be back, but, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not 100% sold, but I liked what I heard today. The guy was such a cocky fucker. Here's what he said to me. He said, that's okay. I know you'll be back. We'll see you soon. And the second he fucking said that to me, I immediately was turned off from going back. And I never did. Because the bottom line is when you're there's one thing, confidence is one thing. That was cocky, egotistical bullshit. And what I could tell is that in his head, they had ingrained that military shit. Oh, it's the best thing ever, and loyalty to your country, and herpa-derpa fucking derp. The stuff that people fall for, that lack of independent thought, that he thought the military was such the best thing. And because I had, they'd done such a good job at selling the military, there was no way in hell that I wouldn't come back. And he said it in such a cocky fucking way that immediately I said, there's no fucking way I would ever go back and be a part of that. And I never did. And since that day, I never considered being in the military, period. And let's face it, with all the shit that happened after that, 9/11, being deployed out in fucking Afghanistan and Iraq, and I probably would be dead. I'm just saying, I'll be quite honest, I'd probably be dead. And I'm happy that I didn't make that decision with my life. And now,
absolutely incredible. Now, he's dumb, and that's an older clip, but what possesses you to say these things? I mean, the recruiter probably has a script he's going over, and yeah, he's going to say things to try to get you to sign up, but the most egregious thing here for Phil was that the recruiter got a little bit cocky. What's he supposed to say? Oh, you're never coming back. Get the fuck out of my office. Which, to be fair, he probably should have said that to DSP, because they dodged a bullet when he chose not to sign up. Literally. Because he probably would have friendly fired on one of his own guys at some point. I mean, you've seen his fucking aim before. But the story's just ridiculous. And I'm not gonna lie, I also had to look up the difference between sergeant and officer to make sure they weren't the same thing, and they're not. So I did have to twist the words a little bit, but that's the whole point of the series. Now, let's move on to scenario number 4. Alright, for the last scenario, we're gonna touch on mobile games. Now, you really have to think back for this one, because he's admitted to playing a bunch of them. And I thought that would make for a good question. I would pick a game that sounds similar to one he's admitted to playing in the past and see if it was fact or fiction. But then again, he's talked about so many over the years, maybe he has played this one. So the question is going to be, did DSP ever admit on camera to playing the mobile game WWE Immortals? And as we can see here, The game came out in January 2015 and lasted all the way till February 2019. Did DSP ever admit on stream to playing WWE Immortals?
It happened. A similar event took place. You're right again. You're right.
A similar story happened to a teacher in the Florida area.
Okay. Next question from Meth Rollins. He says, are you still planning on doing your app review and walkthrough series? Haven't heard word on it since you finished up with WWE Supercard. Yeah, I mean, I bought the HDMI dongle for my iPad and iPhone, and originally I was going to do a walkthrough for WWE Supercard, and after playing that for a few months and getting really addicted to it, I decided to stop playing it. Now I'm playing WWE Immortals right now. It's not a great game. It plays similar to Injustice did on the iPhone and iPad previously. Then coming up next month, we've got the Mortal Kombat 10 app, which is supposed to play just like that. Could I do videos of this stuff? Absolutely. Do people want to see videos of that stuff? I don't know. I never got an overwhelming request. Phil, please, you got to make these iPhone and iPad game walkthroughs. We want them. You know what I mean? It was a cool idea I had for variety's sake, but now it seems I've got all this other stuff going on for variety's sake, excuse me, that I don't have the time to do it. So if there was demand for it, yes, but there's no demand for it right now. Very limited demand, so I'm not really enticed to take time out to make these videos of gameplay of, you know, iOS games or whatever, iOS games.
This guy makes excuses for everything. Oh, there's not a huge demand for it right now, so I don't think I can do it. Just fucking say you're lazy and don't want to put the extra effort in to make extra content. And then, oh my god, quote, I was going to do a walkthrough for WWE Supercard, and after playing that for a few months and getting really addicted to it, unquote. That's a very odd way of stating things, Phil. And hopefully that doesn't come back to bite you in the ass at some point. But who am I kidding here? The guy could have been an officer in the military. There's no way he'd become addicted to mobile games. Fuck out of here with that. But that clip was from March of 2015. And you can find clips on PigPigGo from 2013 of him talking about being addicted to mobile games and shit like that. So there's no telling how long this whole thing's been going on. And when people throw that $100,000 number around, there's a pretty good chance he's blown past that in his lifetime on mobile games. It's incredible. Alright, and that is it for episode 2. I still have about 10 more scenarios written down. I should be covered for a couple more videos, but I am going to need y'all's help with this sooner or later. So if you can think of any good situations, especially tricky ones, that are not easy to figure out right away, do me a favor and DM me on Twitter or Discord, and I'll give you a shout out in the video for it. And thank you to the people who tipped me after the last video. It's too many to name individually, but I appreciate it, and thank you for the messages as well. You never know what somebody's going through, and sometimes people just being nice to you goes a long way. Part 3 should be out in a few days. These don't take a long time to make, thankfully. It's just all the editing that's a pain in the ass and slows everything down. But it is what it is, man. I'll talk to y'all very soon. Thank you for sticking with me, and a fucking go.
I'm not kidding now. I know nothing about Snowcrawl being banned. If I see one fucking person talking about it, you're banned. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm in the finale of a playthrough I've been doing for 2.5 fucking months. Okay? I'm having fun. I turn to the chat, and there's 10 idiots talking about Snowcrawl. Fuck you. No, you don't get to derail the fucking playthrough that I put 90 hours into. You're going to be banned now. So, I'm done with it. If I see one fucking person say that name in the chat, I'm banning you. I don't even know if he's banned or not. He was here earlier talking. Fuck you. Fuck you. Nope, you're banned. Here we go. Goodbye. You don't listen, you're out. Fuck you. I'm not putting up with this shit. 2.5 months of an awesome chill playthrough. You're going to try to ruin the fucking finale with your immature shit. Fuck you. I'm actually going to put the fucking controller down and wait a minute to see what moron is going to say it. Seriously. I'm going to wait. I'm going to ban your fucking ass right now. I'm done with it. I'm not putting up with your immature shit. Seriously. You're here to fucking, seriously, here to derail. Completely derail the finale of a game playthrough I put 90 plus hours into and everyone's enjoyed over the summer. Let's flood his chat. By the way, all accounts I don't recognize. New accounts out of nowhere come into the chat to talk about Snowcrawl. Fuck you. Go to his fucking chat. Go to somewhere else to talk about him. Not here. I don't know anything about what the fuck's going on with him. I have nothing to do with it. Get the fuck out.